This is Nemesis Stars, and in this video I want to address, support for all the epilepsy, people out there, all the epileptic, mainly. Reason I'm kind of making this video is to point out, something that had been going around, that possibly happened 1 or 2 years ago that I overheard on a couple of videos to do with TikTok. And this can seem offensive because reasons why is a lot of people were taking the piss out of epileptics. They were faking seizures for views and whatever. And when I overheard that, basically someone's, couple of, news videos and whatever, I was shocked. Yeah, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I straight away took to those videos and straight away said that, people shouldn't be doing that, making fake videos of people like that, and whatever. Stuff like that. It's not funny to mock people with epilepsy. The reasons why is because, if you mock someone with epilepsy and you eventually do get it in your lifetime, eventually you would regret it. Because epilepsy, most reckon, is not a mental illness. Well, apparently it is. Some say it's not a disease. It is. It's contagious. So the reasons why epilepsy is contagious is because, even though it's not airborne, it goes through your DNA. If someone has it, there's chances of it going through to someone else. Now, mine is generally genetic, and whatever. I don't really know the name of my epilepsy so far, and such. Because I have a sort where I get no warning or a warning or something like that. But it's still outrageous to, mention a lot, you know what I mean? Like, to make fun of somebody with epilepsy. It's just not nice. Reasons why is because, well, I'm gonna state the facts. Usually when you have your first seizure, it's not a good one, unfortunately. Now, when I actually got it in high school, I didn't really know I had it as a baby at first, but I didn't get it as bad as a baby until I was actually in high school. I actually got it, and when I first got it, I wasn't breathing that well, and my lips went blue. I was suffering from air. I got taken to the hospital, and it's horrible because, having that seizure and whatever, it kind of feels like they would get the jerk. It would start off with the hands, the shakes, and it would just go through the entire body, and then it would apparently go down, especially my other hand, and then it would just, go all the way to my feet and whatever, and I'd constantly start fully shaking, and then it would just, well, you get the idea. It would just keep shaking and shaking and shaking, and then I'd feel a bit, like I'm about to black out, and I'd black out, and then apparently what happened was, basically when I woke up in the hospital and whatever, I could not walk because of that. That's the first seizure I had. I could not walk. Because it did something to my legs, unfortunately, which took a long time to heal, until I was able to walk again. And, it's no laughing matter. Epilepsy, it's serious. So apparently I can list an example of why epilepsy is dangerous. Okay, so let's take an actor, for example, Cameron Boyce, which is an actor my sister likes. he had epilepsy. He didn't really know about it until he died, one day, in bed. I actually did die, unfortunately. Apparently nobody even knew at the time. And I actually didn't know either, unfortunately, so yeah, so he'd still be remembered, unfortunately. Now, another one that has epilepsy is my dog. Well, my aunt's dog. My aunt's dog has epilepsy. She also has a heart condition, so she could die at any time. Because of that. She does have the shakes, in her. But she has breathing issues, so if she has a seizure, she would suffer from that, which is why she has an oxygen tent now. So she goes in that whenever she's not feeling well. So another thing I have to basically say about epilepsy, in case, people don't know this. Now, epilepsy people feel trapped, unfortunately. They feel trapped, isolated, depressed, and so on. And they feel jealous of other people and whatever, which is, it's a common thing with epilepsy. Because they desire that friendship so much. They can't go out on their own. They can't, do what they want, mainly in life. Like, so for example, they can't do diving because they're not allowed. They can't go horse riding unless it looks like it's controlled. Especially an off seizure, you're probably looking about a year or so, before you can, like, horse ride or something like that. Stuff like that. It's like most activities that, that you want to do in life, that, you wouldn't be able to do in life because it's epilepsy, after all. Wouldn't be able to do it whatsoever. So it actually sucks, unfortunately. It's horrible, because, when I actually went to Flamingo at one point, after I got diagnosed with epilepsy, I got told that I couldn't go on the rides. I was down. I actually felt down because I was not happy about the idea. And I just couldn't care less because I loved rides. I wanted to go on the rides and such because I did not want to be boring. You know what I mean? I wanted that fun and excitement. So, I mean, that's another thing. You can't do what you want, really. Another couple of things you apparently have to do is take pills, and if you get more illnesses in life, you have to take probably more extra pills. Now, another thing that's kind of linked to epilepsy is, most think of suicide because they can't stand the life they're living. They can't stand, issues that is happening to them, because, again, they crave more, you know what I mean? It's kind of like that. So apparently I wear a bracelet, unfortunately, an epileptic bracelet. I wear this whenever I go out, so people know I'm epileptic. I also wear this, which has epilepsy on it. It's my lanyard and whatever. I wear it around my neck. So I usually just wear it around my neck like that. You know what I mean? Like that. So I usually just wear it around my neck like that, and such. So apparently I do take tablets. Unfortunately, I take Capra. I take around the 60 ones and whatever, and such. So apparently it's apparently the 250 mg ones I actually take. So, I take 5 a day, 5 at night, unfortunately. If anyone doesn't know what Capra looks like, it looks like that. So it's actually pretty small for a pill. It's actually not that big. So I actually take around, again, 5 day, 5 at night. So that is Capra, unfortunately. So, there is off chances I do actually get seizures, but not that often as I used to. Yeah, so another thing I actually have is a bed guard. I use this every day, and, I usually use this for, like, sleeping and whatever. You know what I mean? You can actually unscrew it and such. You know what I mean? You can actually unscrew it and whatever right there and whatever. So it's actually pretty good as a bed guard. As you can actually just, like, put it back down like that. Yeah, so that's a bed guard. I use that a lot because, well, one problem is I've always fell out of the bed because of my epilepsy. So my sister as well, she has a bed guard. She has to sleep with a bar up because one time she actually fell off her bed and hit her face, unfortunately. She really has, like, cuts on her face, which is horrible, such. So really, for anyone that doesn't really, for people that apparently didn't know that, well, now you know, what epilepsy is like. It's dangerous. Because you could literally be anywhere and you would fall and cause serious injuries. Some people wear helmets to avoid getting their head hurt. You know what I mean? Because it protects the brain and such, which is actually a bit safer for most ones that have everyday seizures, mainly. Ones that can't be treated with treatment, ones that, the treatment for the ones that the treatment doesn't work, such. Another thing with epilepsy, you have to watch your temperature, you have to watch your migraines and whatever, making sure that you doesn't get overboard, because if your migraine goes very high and whatever at one point and it becomes worse, it could cause a seizure, because seizures can also be caused by stress and a bunch of other things. They can also, from what I heard, interrupt your sleep from time to time, and such. So yeah, another thing I can apparently say is, it's best not to have children if you have epilepsy until you get a cure, mainly. Me, I chose not to because I wasn't interested in children, so I actually gave up on it. My sister, though, at first wanted to get down with a guy, but I actually encouraged her not to. There was a reason why I didn't want to go down that path. And it was because I would have felt jealous, and I wouldn't have liked where the relationship would go, and she would have had a child, and you get what I'm going at right now. I apparently wouldn't have had that bond that I had years ago. I would have lost it or something. Like, it just wouldn't have felt the same anymore. You kind of feel people with epilepsy get jealous of other people, especially if they're in a relationship, you know what I mean? People that actually, get together with somebody and whatever, and you actually, miss out on that. It's kind of like that. So apparently, because of me, my sister is not in a relationship, and I'm glad. So I'm actually happy for that, because she would have passed down the epilepsy to someone else. so I've actually saved the trouble of that. It's also because I do not want to be an aunt. Yeah, I don't want to be an aunt. I just don't want to feel old. That's why. I also do not want to look after, whatever children she'd had, because, again, I'm not into children. Um, because, yeah, that's the main reason, really, because I'm just not into children. But again, yeah, so still back to the topic about, the whole drama with TikTok. Yeah, so apparently so apparently for the ones that, again, don't have epilepsy, just don't make fun of them, for the ones that do, because, again, it would come back to bite you in the end, probably in the butt. So from what I know, this lass or something that supports this epilepsy thing or something is actually intending to shut down TikTok because of what they're doing, allowing videos to do with people that take the piss out of YouTubers. Well, apparently out of YouTubers with epilepsy and, a bunch of other people with epilepsy. So again, it's kind of like a consideration, like, to do or not to do, and whatever. Also, epilepsy can be triggered by heat. Like, if you're in the heat for too long, and you get exhausted or whatever, you can actually have a seizure, which, again, is most likely in heat, unfortunately. So yeah, so apparently the message of the people against, the epileptics that want to take the piss out of people with epilepsy, again, don't piss us off. Don't apparently take the piss out of us by, taking the piss literally out of us completely, you know what I mean? Like, trying to take the piss out of the epileptics and whatever, because it's offensive. It gets us all offended because we go through it in real life and we don't like it, unfortunately, because it hurts us. Because we know how we have to go through it and we see it as not a joke, because a bunch of people have nearly died through it. Some people have probably survived through it, through, like, epilepsy and such. Like, most even go through surgery in the brain, to try and lower down the epilepsy and whatever. But yeah, it's definitely no laughing matter. I definitely think I probably might have been so close to death. Once, again, when I was in the ambulance, I probably was so close to death. Again, this was in school. I was suffering from the oxygen. I was actually feeling I actually was close or whatever, but I actually got saved by the ambulance or whatever. I did wake up in an ambulance. That was in high school. But again, I've heard other stories as well, like, about certain other people having bad history with getting bullied or anything like that. Well, it's classed as cyberbullying to people that take the piss out of epileptics. It actually is classed as cyberbullying, because it's kind of offending them, whatever, if you kind of get the appeal of it. Yeah. So, we didn't actually choose to have this disease. Unfortunately, we didn't choose to have this. we wanted to live like everyone else, but we're forced in a society where we can't, unfortunately. We're just forced with this illness for the rest of our lives. Most times I feel like scientists probably won't make a cure, by this, while I'm alive or whatever. They'll probably make it by the time I'm dead. Which most likely, I reckon that would probably be the case, which is why I actually believe in reincarnation. So it has me think that if I had a second life, I would choose a second life that isn't evolved around epilepsy, unfortunately. So that life wouldn't have genetic epilepsy in it and whatever, so I'd be safe from the epilepsy altogether. I wouldn't have it anymore. I'd be fully safe. I'd crave for that life, unfortunately, but I'm kind of stuck because of the life I have now. So yeah, yeah, so apparently, apparently a lot of people go through this mess, they have it and whatever, and they get it in worse ways than others do, and, and they can deal with it or whatever. I mean, probably some people have probably killed themselves because of this epilepsy thing. But again, back to the subject. Yeah, so if you apparently approach an epileptic, don't make a video about them. Don't make a video about their twitching and whatever, because it's not nice. The only thing to do a twitching thing video is when you're teaching a dog to react to seizures. Your best thing is to teach a dog to react to seizures, because at least then it could save somebody with epilepsy. Now, that's what probably I would do if I had a dog, unfortunately. I would teach a new dog how to react to seizures, whatever. Like, I would do the jolt and whatever, I mean, I'd probably have to have a look at it. Yeah, so probably you'd start with the jolting and whatever and stuff like that. I mean, you'd have to find it first before you do it, and then the dog would sort of react to it, and if it does, you praise them, and such. And they would get to know that it's meant to be a seizure, and they would instantly help on that thing. I mean, a video on that is okay, but yeah, again, making a video about, apparently just for views, just for, like, actual views, where you're just, like, doing it to music or anything like that, no. Because, again, it's just offending people with epilepsy, and it gets people triggered, it gets people mad, and such. So apparently, if you ever consider, it's more like, so it's more like, it's kind of like similar to other things, really. It's like, what if this person got cancer, or what if this person had diabetes, what if this person got this, what if this person got that. It's kind of like that, you know what I mean? Mocking people with an illness is not really a good thing, because this is a mental illness. Because mental illnesses usually last for the rest of your life. They never really go away on their own, ever. Because that's why, when I was a baby, I thought, I actually didn't know this, because I literally had epilepsy as a baby, but I didn't really have it for that long. So it kind of just came back to me, well, not directly, but it came after when I was a kid, and when I wasn't a kid, I actually had a faint, which could have been a vision or something like that my epilepsy was going to come to me in high school or something like that. It kind of felt like that. So, yeah, so apparently, another thing is my sister, when she has a seizure, she doesn't get it as bad as me, unfortunately, because I sleep mostly. When I have a seizure, I feel drained. I usually just sleep all afternoon and whenever I have a seizure. I just don't get out of bed. Kind of like, I've lost most of my energy and I just don't. But my sister, though, she would just, after a seizure, eventually just like get up quick and whatever. It's kind of like a seizure I had in Turkey one point. I had a seizure in bed. I actually remember it very, very well. Think it was like during the morning, I think. I had the seizure. I was knocked out for hours because of it. And then I got up somehow later at night, and my legs were a bit tingly, but I couldn't care less. I just jumped in the pool because I was that hot. I was boiling from like the heat and whatever, so I just jumped in to cool me off because that was a good thing for me, just to cool off in the pool, because I needed it. Um, so again, you kind of feel like where I'm coming from with this. Again, you need water to cool you down, otherwise you'll actually have a seizure, and that's why I actually had a seizure in the bed because I was too hot again. So apparently, number of instances I've had, when I was ever out and about and whatever, I've had seizures where I was like walking down the town, and I would just like have this seizure, and I would end up inside a shop on a chair. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that. I'm like thinking in my head, how did I get here? And then there's like instances where I would end up. Now, apparently there was a PE one where I actually was in like PE or whatever, and I was actually excited to have tennis, and I felt a seizure was coming, and I went straight onto the floor, unfortunately, because I knew a seizure was coming. So I just laid straight on the floor, like sat on the floor, and everybody was looking at me because I knew I couldn't say anything because I couldn't shout, because it was, my voice felt numb. So whenever I started to shout, my voice would sound like that. So I couldn't even shout. It kind of felt like that. Your voice won't come out during when you go through the seizure phase. So then, your vision goes blurry and you tend to black out, and then eventually you black out. It's kind of like what happened with me. I blacked out because of that. I think it could have been because of stress, I think. Because, again, it's to do with excitement, because excitement is to do with stress, and stress is a similar thing, really. It's when you get excited and something like that happens. You know what I mean? It's to do with exercise and whatever, which can also cause seizures. So I kind of feel like, I kind of wish that I didn't miss that lesson, because I remember I used to ask for tennis all the time until that one day I actually had that seizure, which was really unlucky for me. I've also had a seizure in an assembly, like a little assembly room, with a couple of chairs and like a small hall, which I was not comfortable with because it was a crowd. So I remember I had a seizure in that room, unfortunately. I think I might have also had a seizure in history or English. I can't remember exactly which but I think I had a seizure in one of them, I think. So I mean, I could just imagine the look, the horror on their faces, my friends, unfortunately, seeing me have a seizure because of that. Now, there was a reason why I had that many seizures in school, and it was because I didn't like Epilim at all because it was putting on weight. So that's what made me change to another medication, because I actually was on another medication before that. I was on like some sort of medicine and it tasted disgusting. So I didn't like the medicine at all because I remember my nan used to like try to force me to take it. I had to take it morning and night, unfortunately. Um, but I'm actually okay with Keppra since I've just shelled that off earlier. Now, Keppra is a good medication to take, because, even though it does have side effects, it depends on how many you take exactly. But apparently my sister takes more of Keppra, so she's actually on the same medication as me, so there's that. Unfortunately, yeah, let's see, what else? Oh yeah, there was another thing I'm gonna mention as well. When I actually was in hospital, for my first seizure, I actually got sent gifts, by my school, and a card and such, because they felt sorry for me that I had my first seizure. Well, I class it as my second seizure because it's a permanent seizure. That time round, so apparently I was shocked on how many, how many actually wrote on a card to me and whatever to get well soon and whatever. I was actually happy about that because, usually you wouldn't get something like that unless it was something serious, and it actually was serious for me, because, again, I could have died. I mean, that's just an example that epilepsy can kill you. So apparently if you take treatment, it's safer, but taking no treatment is a bit more deadlier because you have no chance on surviving a seizure, because it would kill you. Take it for example, there was a prisoner in a cell that was actually on video. He actually had a lot of seizures, unfortunately. But the guards, though, they didn't help the guy out, unfortunately. They probably didn't even know what epilepsy was. So the guy just eventually just died in a cell. Poor guy. Having that seizure, though. I mean, that would have been very stressful just to die in a cell, with epilepsy, unfortunately. Now, apparently epilepsy is becoming well known now, for, like, causing a bunch of shakes and whatever to people, having different, types of epilepsy, like, there's actually types where they're a bit more mild epilepsy, where, like you would just knock something over and whatever, stuff like that. Now, I've actually had side effects, like, with my epilepsy, unfortunately, whenever I took medication or whatever, I used to get the drops and whatever, like, say I've got this in my hand or something like that, and I would just, like, drop, apparently my hand or something would drop it like that, something like that. Okay, let's see where it went. Yeah, stuff like that, you'd have it and it drop and whatever, and then, the twitch of the hand would drop it or whatever. Apparently that's the side effect that's, rare or something to me that I sometimes would get, sometimes I would not. But it doesn't happen all the time, dropping stuff. So Again, that's literally a side effect that you would get. I think it's to do with the medication, or something, I don't really know. But, it just happens. Nothing you can do, unfortunately. I'm also really considered why people don't do epileptic charities around my area. It's horrible because I usually think, why do they, even though they do cancer ones, why don't they do epilepsy as well? Because, you can actually get tumors or something linked to epilepsy in the brain, because tumors can actually trigger you to get epilepsy as well, unfortunately, because any brain damage can cause you to have it as well, unfortunately. So epilepsy is one of the worst you can get, because it's fatal. It can mean death. It can mean a lot of things. But when you're a patient that it tries everything and the medication just doesn't work, then most likely they have a chance of dying, unfortunately. Well, that's if they have severe epilepsy. So ones with mild epilepsy, they're fine. Unfortunately, they won't die like they would with others. But number of issues it can cause with epilepsy is memory loss, brain damage, and a bunch of other problems. So it can cause a lot, unfortunately. So it kind of makes you think, whenever you have a seizure, you could end up paralyzed or what, or you can end up losing your memory, forgetting who's around you and stuff like that. Or you could just lose access to your legs completely and not be able to walk ever again. So there's stuff like that to consider, because it can be dangerous, and such. Now, so the question most would ask is there actually a real way to prevent from you having a seizure? Well, the answer to that is no. Even though you take medication, it doesn't stop you from actually having a seizure. It doesn't stop you completely from having a seizure. Like, you would just literally just have a seizure. So there's no stopping it, unfortunately, as of right now. I'm hoping the epileptic team actually look into it more and actually develop a cure for once, to cure all the ones with epilepsy, so that they don't have it anymore, and then they can do what they want that they couldn't do when they had epilepsy, because that's kind of what I'm craving for. I was also considering on getting a epileptic t-shirt, in purple and whatever, to put epilepsy on it and so on, so that people would know that I'm to do with epilepsy. Now, apparently my cousin, he has diabetes, so he's lucky he hasn't got epilepsy, unfortunately, but he does have to watch his sugar levels, unfortunately. So, again, the worst one that has it worse is my aunt's dog, Molly. She could literally go at any time. She has the shakes or whatever. She can literally go at any time. I would actually feel sorry for her. I actually do worry for Molly. Even though she's a dog. I actually love her to bits. Whenever I see her, I feel sorry for her. I pick her up, even though she's panting a bit and whatever, with breathing issues. I actually, hold her in a way that calms it down. So usually, most days she can feel ill and whatever. She's actually been through operations and whatever. Apparently Molly, she's went through a lot, and whatever. My aunt's paid a lot on Molly. to keep her alive, even done the best treatment for her and whatever to keep her going, and such. So there you have it. There's a reason not to make fun of anyone with epilepsy, because, you know, making fun of epilepsy is no laughing matter. It's serious. It can lead to a lot of death and whatever. So apparently there's a lore between, basically, to do with epilepsy. It goes back before the Victorian times and whatever. Way back, unfortunately. So it kind of goes back to a time where, I mean, it's just a myth, unfortunately. So it's to do with the moon. I mean, they class it as the moon god, but I don't really believe in the ritual and the religious thing, really. But it's come from somewhere. I'm not sure exactly. They say it's something to do with the moon, to do with possession, and it possessed a person to twitch and whatever, which they thought was witchcraft, which was like, you know, like devils or something like that. And because as you would think in the, you know, in the in the Dark Age, they would burn women for having seizures. So when you think about it, it's kind of dark because they think it's witchcraft, you know, to do with the devil and such, but there you have it. It was a disease all along. It came from somewhere, nobody knows where. It wasn't actually the moon. I don't think. It came from somewhere, but nobody knows where. I actually believe it just started with one person in existence, and then just spread to everyone else. That's how I think it. I think that's how I think a couple got it, where like they just went on and on through generations, and then it just spread and spread. The Victorian people didn't know how to solve the issue. They tried, they looked into it and whatever, and it kept getting pushed off. They couldn't even figure it out and whatever, especially the Wild West era and whatever, didn't know how to deal with it either. So nobody could actually deal with epilepsy at the time. Nobody could solve the issue. Everybody tried. They tried messing with like brains and stuff like that to see how it operates, to twitching and stuff like that, to figure it out. I mean, they didn't actually know it until, you know, a certain time period, probably like the Victorian age, I reckon. They probably didn't know it until then, until they actually found out that it wasn't witchcraft. It was actually an illness, a long-term disease, that can just last forever. So yeah, so apparently that's all I've got to say for this video. So whenever you feel like, so if anyone that actually wants to do any epileptic charity, please do, because that would really help epileptics out, like me and my sister and Molly and many other thousands of people out there that has epilepsy, that are at risk at the moment. So help them out any way you can and such. So yeah, so there possibly will be more videos, I reckon, on epilepsy or whatever in the future. So probably stay tuned for that, I reckon, whenever I make another one. So yeah, peace out.